It's getting easier.
Oh, it did.
Okay, so are we
Yeah.
live? We're live.
Hey, everyone.
So again, this is Dr. Keith McNeil, and of course, this is Mitch Gray in Conversations with Mitch Gray. And so I do appreciate everybody joining us. Just making
Where's
sure
your
that we're.
Where's your coffee?
I've been up for a while, and so I've got some sweet tea with me right now. So
Sweet tea?
yeah, I live in the South.
I understand, but sweet tea this early in the morning?
In my early, it's about 10:30 or so.
I guess it's almost 11. Yeah, you're
It's
okay. You're
it's
okay.
almost
I'll let
like
you slide.
I'm at the brunch, moving into lunch. Anyway,
I'll
um,
let you slide.
I
Let
do
you slide.
appreciate that, Mitch. And so for our audience who is ever watching and listening, recognizing that I am continue my training efforts for the through hike of the Appalachian Trail. And so on the weekends, I'd like to, especially for October, November, December, at the time of this recording, it's mid-November 2024. So I know this is a live stream. My goal is to now push this through hike in 2026, only because Hurricane Helene has disrupted the lives of many people in the North Carolina and Southern Virginia area. And so, depending on where you are in the high country, you may have actually lost your a friend, a loved one, or home, and definitely probably a business or revenue. And so, out of respect for that space, I've decided to postpone my hike until 2026. But we're not here to talk about my efforts, but I have
I mean,
been.
we are kind of.
We are kinda. I've been up since, because
Did you
we're
go?
doing what?
Did you go hiking this morning?
And because I knew that we were going to do this, and that's why I asked you to
Yeah.
kind of push it out until 10:30 my time.
Right.
I
Right.
did my normal, what I consider my normal, which is getting up at 2:15. Today was a 15-mile hike, but I also knew I had to get to the bank and take care of some errands.
So what
Um,
time do you go to bed? The people want to know.
the people don't want to know.
Yeah, they want to know what time you go to bed. If you get up at 2 o'clock, let's do the math. Are you in bed
Well,
by 6?
I am at least sleeping by 8 o'clock. So I will get a 6 hours. I'll probably nap at some point today, like an hour.
Please do. Please do. Yes. The people want you to take care of yourself. That's what the people want.
The people want a lot today.
Yeah. Also, I have a question for everyone that watches and listens. Since I'm always drinking coffee and you're usually drinking something, sweet tea, whatever,
Water.
water,
Sometimes it's coffee. Yeah.
hopefully,
I got water
sometimes
here
it's
too.
coffee. I want to know what the viewers and listeners are drinking.
Okay.
So we
So they're
normally
gonna,
do this on a, yeah, they're going to comment below the video what their favorite drink for the morning time is. Whether they get up at 2 o'clock in the morning. What's the first thing you drink, Keith, when you get up in the morning at 2 o'clock? Do you drink water?
I usually do like a 3 ounce shot of water, cold water, to kind of wake my body up.
Wake you up? Yeah, yeah.
But I do have a morning breakfast routine, and it's not necessarily the most nutritious, but it gets me up and going because I know at the very least I've got 12 miles to take care of. And like I said, Saturdays is typically 14 to 15. And once the holidays are over, I'm going to go back on the trailhead, and my Sundays will probably go back to a 20-mile Sunday. So anyway,
It's
to
really
answer your,
impressive. No, I'm not gonna let you. It's really impressive. Seriously, it really is.
well,
Yeah.
to get me going, I have a peanut butter and chocolate sandwich. Yes.
Ooh.
And my chocolate is Hershey's Kisses. So I'm from Pennsylvania, so Hershey, Pennsylvania. So it's either
Do you
it,
melt them onto the sandwich?
no, it's either Hershey's Kisses or, some kind of Hershey bar.
Interesting. Hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, you need something, yeah, if you're gonna go on that. Anyway, I just think it's impressive what you're doing. The people want to know because they have all kinds of questions, I'm sure. So, good job, man.
Well,
Yeah.
that and people in my local area. So I'm here in Suffolk, Virginia. So I
Yep.
just kind of gave away my
Yep.
my location.
That's
Um,
all right.
will recognize me because now, of course, I stand out. And so sometimes, most of the time, I'm doing my morning hike. Sometimes I'm doing an afternoon hike, depending on whether how the weather is in the morning. I still got to get
Sure.
my 12 miles in. But regardless, on the weekends is really where people are walking. I have a trail basically right, 20,
Yeah.
20, 20, 20 feet to my left outside of, my house. There's a
Right.
trail that goes 6 miles up and back. People there recognize me because I'm carrying my rucksack, so it's a 35
And
pound,
you dress in camo.
and I got camouflage pants. I typically wear a t-shirt. I've got my scouting hat. Usually got sunglasses, and of course I've got boots on. And so, but my definitive nature is the camouflage pants. That's just kind of part of who I am. I was a combat Marine, so I was a Marine back in the day. So it's very comfortable for me to kind of slide those on and hit the trail. It just feels very natural for me to do that.
Cool.
Anyway, people have recognized and say, you got to be training for something
Yeah.
because
Yeah, for
I'm the
sure.
only guy out there with a 35-pound rucksack and it's full. I mean, this thing is huge on my back. It
Yeah.
it takes up a lot of space. So the conversations, can continue. And now there's like this group of cyclists. I think they're semi-pro. I don't know if they're pro, but at least they're semi-pro because they got these really sweet, 15 speed,
Yeah.
bikes.
The expensive bikes. Yeah.
And, they ride all over the area. One time mid-year, so 2024, a couple of them stopped and said, you got to be training for something. So, that conversation, Appalachian Trail, all that kind of stuff. And every time they see me, they applaud me because again, I'm
Wow.
carrying this sack that looks like I'm Santa Claus if I was any bigger, trying to give away toys. But I'm not. I'm trying to get in shape and stay in shape, because the Appalachian Trail through hike is a 2,100-mile excursion that's going to take a lot of time, energy, and effort to do. So I need to
Yeah.
prep for it now.
You're doing it, man. Proud of you.
I appreciate it.
You're doing it.
What are we talking
Okay,
about today? We're not
let's
talking
talk for
about
a few minutes.
hiking, but
Let's talk for a minute.
we should talk about sustainability. How do we
Agreed.
sustain progress in being healthy, whether that's mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally? I know you've
Yeah.
got some insight into that.
Yeah, sustainability is an interesting word. We don't use that a lot, but it's a really important word. And we have to ask, what does it mean to sustain? And really, it's talking about the idea of what does it look like to have certain specific behaviors over time?
Mm,
That's the idea of sustainability is something happening over time, a change that takes place. And when we talk about change, it's really interesting because oftentimes we fear change. We're scared of change. Change is it's just scary to us as humans. We've talked about on this show our routines and daily anchors and building community, but making those changes can be really scary. I read a quote on social media the other day, something to the effect of bravery often shows up as fear, as feeling like fear. So
mm,
that's why you should actually do it. And I thought that was really interesting. Bravery often shows itself as fear, or it feels like fear. It feels like it's scary. It feels like sometimes this is something I shouldn't do because I don't know how to do it. And we've talked about curiosity, especially when we're building community or trying new hobbies. And so when we talk about sustainable change, the question is, how do we create change of behavior within ourselves that is sustainable over time? And that's where I always go back to take it a step at a time. Don't try and make all these swift swinging changes all at once because the idea that you'll hold them together is very slim to none. I mean, it becomes so overwhelming. It becomes almost as overwhelming as whatever we're dealing with, whether we're dealing with PTSD or depression or anxiety or whatever disorders or diseases or that we're facing. If we try and change everything at once, it becomes so overwhelming that it's like I would rather be comfortable and be unhealthy than have to change and be uncomfortable because we get addicted to the chaos. The chaos becomes, in a weird way, beautifully comfortable. And so we have to take these changes one step at a time. What's one thing, one behavior, one thought pattern that I can change today that I can put into practice every day? Maybe it becomes a daily anchor, or maybe it just becomes something I'm changing. So let's give an example. Let's say we're dealing with negative thoughts. So let's say we're dealing with those thoughts leading to anxiety or depression. So it isn't the anxiety or depression that's necessarily the problem, it's the thoughts that we're dealing with. So it could be a reframing of some of those thoughts. So an example would be, Mitch, you could never do that. You could never do A, B, and C. You could never be a public speaker. No one wants to listen to you. No one wants to hear what you say. What you say isn't good enough. Look at Joe over there who has a successful public speaking, business. You could never be Joe. Joe's talking to millions of people. So those are a type of negative thought pattern that might lead to anxiety, depression, giving up, having hopelessness. So what's a reframe? Hey, what if we tried? You never know what could happen. Wouldn't it be nice if I got a speaking gig this year? So it's a small incremental change that's re-triggering and I don't like using that word, but that's really what we're doing, reframing the idealism of the thought. And as we can do that over time, I literally have a notebook for those listening that I'm holding up on screen. And in this notebook, this is my daily journal. And often the daily passages are, wouldn't it be nice if dot, dot, dot? Because that's a trick that I learned to begin reframing these hopeless thoughts. So that would be an idea and an example of sustainable change, a sustainable behavior that we're reframing. We talked about that a few weeks ago, cognitive reframe. To your example a few weeks ago, when you're doing the timeline therapy, your therapist probably has you reframing things that happened in your past. Again, that's a cognitive reframe. Instead of looking at it as something that happened to you, it's just something that happened that now we can reframe and actually learn from, take from, and live from. So it's really learning to rewrite or retell the story because there's people watching and listening to us that have had terrible things happen to them. Terrible, terrible things. We've had things in our lives that have happened to us. Um, but at some point to take back the power, and that's how we truly take back the power. And to create sustainable behavioral change, we have to figure out how to reframe. And that goes one step at a time, one moment at a time, one thought at a time. And that's really the best way to find that success.
Your words, I'm still pondering your words. Wouldn't it be nice? And the reason
Yeah.
why I'm kind of, you know, pondering them, throwing them around in my mind, they don't seem strong enough.
Ah,
They don't seem strong enough based on the gurus of positive thinking or manifestation, even therapy.
mm-hmm,
Um, you really, I'm hearing and
mm-hmm,
in part learning, you have to be intentional with that. So wouldn't it be nice would be like saying, well, what if this could happen? Not necessarily an intention, but a wish. And wishes are not necessarily strong enough. So can you go back and clarify, or are you really comfortable with those words for you?
mm-hmm,
And for somebody else, they need to be more focused. For me, and we're talking about affirmations that affirm who we are.
mm-hmm.
So my therapist would say, well, you are a public speaker. Look at what
Yes.
you've done.
Yeah.
You have created this virtual space. You literally host and co-host six different types of conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them have been live and panel discussion live conversations. And then, of course, earlier this year in September 21, I was part of the Spark, Ignite the Spark event, which is our
Right.
um, our efforts, me and my colleagues here in the eastern part of America, in North Carolina and Virginia,
Hmm.
was an event to basically eradicate the impact of suicide. And as part of the Envision Speaker Series, which is my panel member, conversation,
Right, right.
there were 7 people on the panel, on a stage, in a
Yeah,
church in North
yeah.
Carolina. And I basically orchestrated that, like the conductor would orchestrate,
Sure,
music,
sure.
and I was praised and applauded. Now, am I the best at it? Again, am I like Joe? You said Joe's great at what he does. Look at him; he's making, $1 million a year. I made nothing for the effort, but am I a public speaker? The answer is yes.
Yes, yes, yeah. Yeah, so we can tie in our I am statement. I am dot dot dot. So those would be the affirmations that we're talking about. The magical thing that I have found about the wouldn't it be nice statements is it softens the heart and it softens the negative thoughts. So instead of saying that'll never happen, I'll never become a paid public speaker. Let's just keep running with that example.
Mhm.
I'll never get the job. I'll never find love. I'll never get out of debt. So these statements that we make to ourselves that are opposite of the affirmations, they're closing us off from this sustainable behavioral change that we're introducing. And so the great thing about the wouldn't it be nice statement is it actually begins softening these self-condemning statements because we can make all the I am statements in the world. If we don't believe them, they're never going to. The great thing about wouldn't it be nice is it allows our spirit and our emotions to start entertaining a different form of thinking. And so, yes, sometimes we need the directness, but sometimes we just need the soften. And that softening is moving away from the self condemning thoughts of, I'll never be big enough, strong enough, fast enough, smart enough, wise enough, rich enough, whatever. And
Mhm.
that's what we're so often telling ourselves, especially when we're in the middle of an anxiety attack, or we're in the middle of deep, severe depression, or we're in the middle of a PTSD episode. All that's coming at us is what we are not. We are not enough. And the wouldn't it be nice statement says, but what if? Wouldn't it be nice if an opportunity came my way that gave me some money to help me get out of debt? And I've seen this happen in my own life. I've seen over the last year or two that I've been using wouldn't it be nice statements. Now, the timeliness doesn't often happen on our timeline. We want it to happen quick, fast, in a hurry. And sometimes the universe is saying, but you're not ready yet. And
Mhm.
so the wouldn't it be nice statements, along with the I am statements, as well in this notebook that I showed you, toward the back of the notebook, I have some pages that are marked that are just I am statements.
Good.
Because what I'm telling myself and what I'm inviting others to tell themselves is, again, we're talking about reframing the story. Because someone at some point in time told us we weren't enough. We didn't tell ourselves that, whether it was someone in our personal lives or society.
We
Someone
just
at some point told
adopted
us
that idea.
a belief is simply a thought, and
Right?
someone planted a thought in our minds that said we couldn't be the ballerina, we couldn't be the dancer, we couldn't be the doctor, we couldn't be the dreamer, we couldn't be the speaker. Again, someone in our lives told us we weren't big enough, fast enough, strong enough, smart enough, rich enough. And so we have to reframe those thoughts because beliefs are just simply thoughts that are given to credit over time. And so that's the sustainable. We live sustainable behavior change. We just live it from the opposite realm of positivity. We live it from the realm of I'm not big enough, strong enough, fast enough, smart enough, rich enough, wise enough, because someone told us that and we believed it. The powerful thing, Keith, is that we can change a thought. And that's what I love about both the I am statements and the wouldn't it be nice game. I call it a game, is I can just play it and it's fun. And I really love the wouldn't it be nice game because it changed my life when I was in the middle of darkness. Because instead of just seeing things not going my way and just being so damaged and hurt by the things that didn't go my way, all of a sudden got to start saying, oh, but wouldn't it be nice if? And it becomes a game. And I don't take it so seriously as I do sometimes the affirmations that, well, if this doesn't happen, if this affirmation doesn't happen, then I lost everything. But the wouldn't it be nice game allows me to introduce some playfulness. And we've talked on this show often about the childlike nature that we lose. And if we can get back to that, it really begins aligning things. And so just this, wouldn't it be nice if I found an opportunity to make extra money? Wouldn't it be nice if I got one speaking gig this year? Wouldn't it be nice if someone invited me onto their podcast so I could introduce myself to a new audience? And now we're opening up the universe to say, oh, now you're ready. Now you're ready.
So, wouldn't it be nice if, how do we use that? Because we look at time in a very linear, specific way
Mm-hmm.
in our three-dimensional reality. We are closing out of 2024. It has been
Jeez.
one wild ride for both of us, and I'm sure for many other
Yeah.
people as well. But at the
Yeah.
time of this live stream, at the time of this recording, is like I said, mid-November here in America. Thanksgiving is 2 weeks away. In reality,
God,
Christmas is, a month then
month and a
beyond.
half. Yeah.
And so we're looking at, I don't want to say new resolutions, but we need to consider 2025 and
Sure.
beyond in a
Sure.
way that we've not considered it before, in
Yeah.
a way that opens up. Wouldn't it be nice if new opportunities came our way? How
Yeah.
do we take that sustainable idea, and I'll use that word today, how do
Yeah.
we create sustainability from a game? Wouldn't it be nice if?
Yeah. Yeah.
And let's
It's like
close out the conversation with your final words.
it's like we've said often, it's in the practice. The practice is the way. I'm looking at a book that I haven't read yet, but a friend recommended it to me, and it's called Practicing the Way. Because then there's an old Buddhist statement that says enlightenment is found when you chop wood and carry water, when you do the mundane, when you do the little things, when you chase the curiosities. And so, in practicality, what does that look like? For me, what it looked like was having a notebook where I literally wrote down every day, wouldn't it be nice if? And it changed almost every day for some. For some things, it stayed the same, desires of my heart, goals that I have. Wouldn't it be nice if 2025 was my year? Wouldn't it be nice if I found a new job came to me in 2025? Wouldn't it be nice if dot, dot, dot? And so it is found, the magic is found in the practice. And you're proving this. You're proving that walking and hiking every single day, that has become the journey. The reward to the journey is going to be the day you get to step on the trail, but the practice has actually become the journey. And you have found such sacred spaces in the practice. If you would have never taken that practice and done it every day, you would have missed out on so many opportunities. And I think that's what we forget, because I was talking to someone yesterday. We do live in such a convenient society. I can get my food quick. I can get my groceries quick. I can get my gasoline quick. I can get everything is, I can turn on the TV. I can turn a faucet and have running water. For most people, for those that don't have that right now, you mentioned the hurricane relief and everything, and some people don't, but they're recognizing how convenient we do have it in a very painful way. But for most of us, everything is so turn the faucet on and it appears. But that's not life. That's not how this works. This works through submitting and humbling ourselves to the magic of the universe and to the power of love and of self-healing in a way that we can let go of those hurts and harms and damaging moments and wounds, and then they will heal. And that's what I love about the practice of the wouldn't it be nice game or the I am statements, is it lets us take back the power. It lets us take back that self-love. It lets us rob the power from the voices that told us we were not and give voice to what we are. But it's in the practice every single day, as many moments as possible. And there's something to having fun with it. I've learned that in my life that it's not so serious. There's a magic pill in having fun with it. And so be childlike, be curious, and just enjoy the game.
There is no better way to end this conversation than with those words specifically. Just enjoy the game. And I
Yeah.
think we need to trademark that. So, oh, wouldn't it be nice
It's
to
a
be an
t-shirt.
actual, wouldn't it be nice to be an actual game before Milton Bradley
Yeah.
takes over? Mitch, as always, I appreciate the conversation. For those of you who've been watching and listening, especially live streaming, we'll see you next time, which is probably Saturdays now because Mitch has got a new
Maybe
schedule.
not. We gotta talk about that. Maybe not. We'll figure it out. We'll get a pattern and a good rhythm going though. I promise. I promise.
I appreciate all of you. We'll see you next time. Take care.